probably the sponsor of me being here, Commander Paul Galante, where we'll be holding our reception here afterwards. One of the greatest professional accomplishments in my life was creating the Virginia Values Veterans Program in 2011. And I'm honored to be on the same team with Paul Galante, who created that program then. So thanks, Paul, and thanks to my teammates on the board. I believe the Virginia War Memorial's mission to recognize and honor the contributions of those who were given the honor to serve by the American people. Yes, you heard that right. Given the honor to serve. I'm always a little uncomfortable when thanked for my service. The idea and intention is noble, right? Though in my opinion, the premise may be a little misguided. Or at least it was in my case, and for most of those I served with. The flawed premise is, I was born to be a soldier. I could never imagine life without being a soldier. Though I didn't always recognize it as, at the time, the best days of my life, besides the day that I married the love of my life almost 41 years ago, my 4 sons and 2 grandchildren were born. We're June 25th, 1973, and at the AP station in Atlanta, Georgia, with my mother crying and my father laughing, raised my 17-year-old right hand and joined the Army en route to basic training at Fort Dix, New Jersey. June 7th, 1978, when my father commissioned me as a 2nd Lieutenant of Armor at West Point. March 23rd, 1991, when I walked across the parade field at Fort Stewart, Georgia, into the arms of my family after leading soldiers in combat during Desert Storm and returning home with our mission accomplished and our heads held high because we accomplished our mission with honor. May 31st, 1997 at Fort Monroe, Virginia, retiring from active service and remembering all the soldiers, non-commissioned officers, and leaders who believed in me over an incredible 20-year career. Quite frankly, if the American people would not have given me their trust and confidence to lead their sons and daughters, I'm not sure where I've ended up. So when I'm thanked for my service, my first reaction is to thank them for allowing me to serve, for giving me a job. It was the only one I ever really wanted. At West Point, we're driven by what we call the sons and daughters rule. No matter what the task during those 4 years, it was all about preparing us to accept the responsibility for and to be held accountable for our unit's performance when given a mission by our nation to do its business around the world when called, and then given America's sons and daughters to accomplish it. The challenge always was, are we good enough to look at those parents in the eye when their sons and daughters have made the ultimate sacrifice and know we did the right thing and that their son or daughter did not die because we were not good enough leaders? This is why we're gathered here today at this wonderful place to remember those given the honor to serve, raised their right hand, and swore to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. They did it willingly, without reservation or expectation. It is truly the ultimate bond between the American people and those who serve in its armed forces. One of the first things I learned in the Army was 4 very simple phrases of the warrior ethos. I'll always place the mission first. I'll never accept defeat. I'll never quit. And I'll never leave a fallen comrade. For a few minutes today, I'd like to give you a very personal example of the last phrase and what it means to me. I'll never leave a fallen comrade. Certainly it has a very tactical meaning to those Americans conducting the dangerous and deadly work of our nation around the world. When you're in the fight, you never leave a fallen comrade. That said, it's also the bond between the American people and those that serve them, a bond that lasts for life. My parents, Joe and Evelyn Barto, are remembered here at this great memorial by a brick. Yet I'm truly honored this day to share their story as a very personal example of that bond between the American people and those that served and their families. Joseph C. Barto Jr. raised his right hand and swore to support and defend the Constitution of the United States on June 20th, 1942 in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. He began horse cavalry basic training at Fort Riley, Kansas, where he said he was a left-right cavalryman. When the horse went right, he went left. When the horse went left, he went right. Upon graduation, he was assigned to the 704 Tank Destroyer Battalion at Camp Hood, Texas. In January 1943, his unit was deployed to Camp Ibis, California, near the now National Training Center, where they conducted intensive armor warfare training under General George Patton. In August 1943, his unit was transferred to Camp Maxey, Texas, where on a Saturday afternoon in September, at a local diner, he met a local girl, Evelyn Louise Finch, and they married on New Year's Eve, 1943. On February 18, 1944, the 704 proceeded by rail to Camp Miles Standish, Massachusetts, where they prepared to embark to England on February 27th, arriving in Liverpool, England on March 12, 1944, his 21st birthday. The 704 was assigned to the 4th Army Division, landing at Utah Beach on July 11, 1944, and entered combat on July 17th, fighting in all 5 European campaigns and 230 days of continuous combat operations. After victory in Europe, he assumed constabulary duties and began his journey home on October 13, 1945, arriving October 24th, and was honorably discharged on October 28th. After a stint as a lathe operator in the Bethlehem Steel Company, on September 11, 1947, he was activated from the reserves at the rank of Tech 4 and was assigned to the Adjutant General School at Fort Lee, Virginia. Over the next 3 years, he was promoted 3 times: Sergeant, Staff Sergeant, Sergeant First Class. He was a promotable Master Sergeant when approached by his commanding officer and asked to apply for a direct commission while temporarily assigned to Fort Benjamin Harrison, Indiana. On May 27, 1951, he raised his right hand again and was commissioned as Second Lieutenant of Armor. His first assignment was at Fort Hood, Texas, where the 1st Army Division was being reformed, and served as a platoon leader in Company D, 1st Tank. In 1952, he was transferred to the Federal Republic of Germany and assigned to the 63rd Tank Battalion, 1st Infantry Division, based at Kitzingen, Germany. His company commander was a captain named Don Starry. His battalion commander was Lieutenant Colonel Creighton Abrams, both later 4-star generals and certified American war heroes. He was the only non-West Point graduate in the battalion. Later in life, he always told me how he learned to handle us ring knockers during that tour. The 1st Infantry Division returned to the United States in 1955, and for the next 5 years served in 63rd, 69th, and the 4th Cavalry. In 1960, he went to the Military Advisory Group Cambodia and spent 12 months in Southeast Asia. In 1961, he returned to Fort Riley, was promoted to Major, and became the executive officer of the 69th Tank. In 1963, he was assigned to the executive officer of the 318th ASA in Herzog-based Germany. In 1966, he was promoted to Lieutenant Colonel and assigned as the post maintenance officer at Fort Knox, Kentucky, where he retired on August 31st, 1968, after 26 years of service. Over that career, my mother was there beside him every step of the way, raising 5 children, moving countless times, and as much of the American Army as any soldier. When they met in 1943, she was a telephone operator. When they married, she became an Army wife. 2 short words for a huge job, as many here can attest. To the day she passed, she was most proud of being called a good Army wife. I'm an Army brat and proud of it. In 1978, Tricia and I were brand new lieutenants starting our lives in the Army. This was during the days when newly assigned officers and their wives were bound by tradition to put on their dress blue uniforms, cocktail dresses, and pay a social call on their commanding officer. I was informed by the adjutant when the brigade commander would be receiving calls. We arrived that July day along with several of my West Point classmates, also newly assigned, and rang the doorbell, answered by our brigade commander, Colonel Dick Kaufman's wife, Betsy. As I went to introduce myself and Tricia, she threw open the door and announced for all my friends to hear, "I know exactly who you are. I changed your diapers when you were a baby." Turns out Colonel Dick Kaufman was a platoon leader in my father's company, Fort Riley, in 1956. I took a lot of ribbing from my friends for many years after that. The blessings and burdens of being an Army brat. Several months later, I was on a tank gunnery range when Colonel Kaufman came to visit. As he was leaving, he pulled me aside and said, "Just want you to know, your dad was a good man and a great soldier, and I would be honored to serve with him anytime, anywhere." No greater compliment one soldier can give another. So in closing, as you walk around today and glance down at a brick with the name Barto on it, you'll know the rest of the story. If you have occasion to visit Arlington National Cemetery and walk that hallowed ground and happen upon the grave of Lieutenant Colonel Joseph C. Barto, Jr. in Section 35, grave 2222, you will find 3 words on his headstone that we thought told Joe and Evelyn's story. First, American. American was a huge word for my parents, and their life's work is done now, leaving a legacy of service to our great nation, and pride in being an American for generations to come is the ultimate compliment. Hero. They certainly were our heroes, even though they never saw themselves as heroes. Victory. It was how they lived their lives, and by the way, the motto of the 704 Tank Destroyer Battalion. In Anton Meyer's classic novel, Once an Eagle, which shaped my generation of leaders, the hero Sam Damon describes in one sentence what my parents stood for. You can't help where you were born, and you may not have much say about how you die, but you can and should try to pass the days in between as a good person. The last thing the commander of the detail says to the next of kin during the burial with military honors, while presenting the flag from the casket of the fallen, is, "On behalf of the President of the United States and the United States Army and a grateful nation, please accept this flag as a symbol of our appreciation of your loved one's honorable and faithful service." It is the way our country demonstrates the last line of the warrior ethos: "I will never leave a fallen comrade." This honor will be given again this Friday in Roaring Springs, Pennsylvania, for Colonel Robert H. Saylor, a World War II and Korean War veteran, also a good man and a great soldier. These places, like the Virginia War Memorial and Arlington National Cemetery, are how we as Americans never leave a fallen comrade, by coming together, remembering their lives, and continuing their legacy of honorable service to our great nation. Thank you for allowing me to serve one more day with you today.